time's up. Let's do this.
We're in for a wild night.
Welcome everyone to episode 201 of Born to be Wild, a wild and wild adjacent Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the wild and wild adjacent formats of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the wild community. I am your host, Electric Sheep City. It's great to be back this beautiful Friday evening here in cool Colorado. I'm joined by our fellow hosts, Hydralisk.
I am doing amazing. Thank you for having me, and I love you all. I cannot wait to have this episode go through. It's going to be a great night.
And Schmoopy Daddy.
Father sounds.
For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs, and the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are then distributed to all podcast apps. However you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes. You.
Content plug, Schmoopy Daddy. Before we get to the main topic of the show tonight, I'd like to say a quick thank you to Shakunin and the other patrons of our show. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to this channel. This is free if you use Amazon Prime. Finally, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. We have some channels in the Discord that are unlocked by subscribing to the Patreon, where you can see the show coming together each week. Check it out. If you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord, a free and amazing online community of friends all across the world who love talking about Wild Hearthstone. Links to all this stuff and more, including our merch, can be found on our website, which is www.borntobewildhs.com. Sheep, how was your week?
Hello. I had one of those. It was a pretty good one. In Hearthstone, I played my Legacy THL match last night, and I swept 3-0. I also played my Wild THL match last night, and I got swept 0-3.
Ooh.
That's my team.
Hey, 50-50. It's all good.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, but my brings were perhaps not as tuned up as I would have liked, and of course, I was playing against Zach, who's great. So both of those things put together, yeah. I did end up with 11x in Standard and 10x in Wild. So
nice.
Still doing those things. I haven't played enough games to get to Legend in either format yet, but I've been having a lot of fun jamming those games nonetheless. I've been having fun experimenting with some Huhuron Hunter, which I'm excited to find more about so that I can know how to play it properly. So, well, a little foreshadowing for what's going down later in the television program. On the personal side, worked on my that grad school. Still plugging away. I'm on week 3 of 8 for this particular class, and after this class I've only got the capstone left, and once I do the capstone, then I still have all my specialization. Yes, the capstone comes before the specialization. I still think it's weird. I still don't think it's right, but what can you do? And the little dude is running all around. The lamb is running around. He as soon as he was walking, the reason why he took a long time to start walking is because he crawled so fast. And so as soon as he started walking, he's like, I'm gonna do this faster. I'm gonna do this faster. I'm gonna do this faster. Now he's like running around, and it's adorable. I'll like get down on my knees and put my hands out, like, you want to come give Daddy a hug, and he'll run and like throw himself at me. It's so cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's what's been going down in this here city of Electric Sheep. Hydralisk, have things been going down in Zergland? What's the Zerg world called? Do you recall?
Well, not exactly, but I believe that they were genetically engineered. Like they made the Zergs.
Oh, so how are things going back in the lab?
to invade. It's kind of like an Alien versus Predator thing, but by Blizzard, if that makes any sense. I haven't played StarCraft 1 in a while, but guess what? It's going great here in Hydraland. This past weekend was not what I expected it to be, in all honesty. I spent way too much time editing last week's episode. It was awesome, but 6 people was hard. It was hard. It's, if you guys have not gone back and listened to our 200th anniversary episode, it was such a good time.
It was.
Schmoopy Daddy and ended up being able to submit some videos because he had a prior engagement. It was so good. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of.
It was fun from the chat.
Alumni back. Yeah,
I can misbehave a little.
Yeah, it was good. Though, like I was saying, I did not. I knew it was going to be a big job, but there was a lot to do, and so I spent more time doing that than actually playing Hearthstone because I was editing some Hearthstone content, and I totally had the plan on hitting Legend before the end of the month, but it didn't happen, so I just ended up at whatever Diamond something. So I did not get my 10x. Oh, I've got the nice cool 9x going into this month, which is okay. That's fine, right? Yeah, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
It's fine because I know I sometimes climb standard with 9x, and it feels like the one part where it really matters is between like D10 and D5, but you still get win streaks, right? So it's like, if you're really gonna put in the wood.
That's the only issue, right? Is the D10 to D5, but like you said, the win streaks really help you there. So it's not that big of a deal, in all honesty. And then so I decided why not, because toy boat. So played a bunch of pirates because pirates equal good. Toy boat draws a lot of pirates. It's so funny. I never really. Like, I know I didn't rate the card good originally because of how much draw that Rogue really has. And I still think you could play the deck either way, but I never imagined ditching a cannon for the draw instead. Like in my mulligan, I'm throwing the cannon and I'm keeping the boat, right? Yeah. Just because I know it can refill and I can get the damage in later. It's the refill that you want almost like right off the bat. So played a lot of that this week and I didn't look at my stats, but doing quite well, and obviously running the patches pirate rogue hero skin because why not?
Yahar
indeed. And also been having a lot of fun with Warcraft Rumble. They put so much into it. They had that Dark Moon Fair event, and then now they did a Blingtron event, and then they're gonna keep doing more. It's just they've put a lot into it, and having a blast in our guild over there with the Walk to Work / Born to Be Wild guild that we have going on, and it's super fun. I do one of my favorite things about it is it's accumulated points. So let's pretend in Hearthstone, every win you get like kind of goes towards your guild, and you earn different things throughout that, right? Like more XP towards your hero class or whatever. Like if Hearthstone had that, I think that'd be really neat. But it's exclusive to this, and it's its own thing, and it's super cool. I really am enjoying it. Also, so outside of Blizzard / Hearthstone, I finished my 14th book, almost 15th today. I'm so close to finishing my 15th, but I can almost guarantee I'll be at least 16 by next week because I'm so close on finishing my audiobook and my physical book. Like I could finish them both after the show if I really wanted to. The audiobook I've got like an hour and 15 minutes left on, and the physical book I have like 80 pages left, something like that. I'll be at probably around 16 to 17 books next week. I don't want to say 17. That's kind of jinxing myself on that.
19. It's got to be 19.
It's got to be 19. No.
It's good to have goals, man. It's good to have goals.
Oh, yeah. No. And I've got some of those for work that I don't think I'm going to hit. But so earlier in the week, I went skateboarding, that is, with Mini Hydra. And we got this basketball court that's at the school right by the house over here. And so we get home from work, and I get home from work. I pick him up, and we have lasagna and garlic bread for dinner, right? And so I stuffed myself, and my son's like, "Hey, Dad, do you want to go skateboarding?" I'm like, "Do you realize I ate half of that lasagna?" Like... and half the loaf of garlic bread. And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, it's fine. Let's go skateboarding." All right. So I go up and we go skateboarding, and I'm just sitting like I feel like a 400-pound man. And I'm not, but I feel like my gut is
all
that
settled,
big.
and you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
I don't know if I can do this, but it was good. It was the first time really this year him and I got out together skateboarding. We did a lot of snowboarding, right? But it's now getting warmer, and we did the skateboard thing. We didn't go anywhere because our local skate park is under construction. But we did that up at the basketball court. We were doing like some flat ground, doing some kick flips, like that kind of stuff, like pop shoves, reverts, all that kind of thing. So we had a good time, and he was excited. So we're gonna try to stay on top of that and be getting out as much as possible, doing some skating. But next time, I'm gonna try to not eat half a lasagna first, because it's
good to have goals.
Yeah. Milk was a bad choice.
Oh, milk was a bad choice.
All right, Shmoopy Daddy, how's your week been?
My week's been good. So I missed but didn't miss the episode 200. I played in my alumni soccer game at my college, which was comical because the program has changed so much and gotten so much more competitive even since I played that. My former coach has gotten a bunch of kids to come back even after they've graduated. So I'm going to say the average age on the soccer field was probably like 25, 26 years old. And they all still play, and they're all in shape. And I'm not. I'm not doing any of those things. And so I'm out there probably, I'd say, easily close to 40 pounds over the playing weight that I was initially on that field at. And I put in 10 minutes. I did okay.
Nice.
I didn't get embarrassed. But I needed a sub before after 10 minutes with 15 minutes left, and I went in with 15 minutes left and needed a sub with 5 minutes left. I was like, all right, somebody take me out before I give up a goal or something like that. And I did manage to bust up my knee a little bit. I was worried it was more serious than that, but it turned out to just be soft tissue, so that was cool. Shmoopy Mommy came along. We actually met at our alma mater, which was cool. So we take the kids along and we give them a walk and we show them the campus and we show them the buildings we were in. And they've done a lot of updating. They've done like really cool stuff. Like somebody donated their entire fossil collection to like the earth science department. So like we're walking in, we're seeing like dinosaur skulls and stuff like that. It was really cool. And so like, mostly I'm keeping track of like, all right, well, how many beers am I having on the sidelines? My knee is swelling up. That's great. But I couldn't do in person. I mean, I guess I could have called in because Craig did to the big to the big 200th episode. But honestly,
So good.
it was. I kind of alluded to it in my video. Like, I felt like since I've been an official cast member for I don't know how, like maybe a couple months at this point. I'd have to go back and look and see. And I know I've been involved with the podcast for a long time, but this felt like more of a opportunity to kind of again like hear more from like Saucy Mailman or hear more from Nate, who hasn't been on the show for a while. And so like I didn't mind kind of like just sort of sitting back as a fan in the chat and just sort of goofing off and drinking beer in my hotel room and just like watching you guys have at it and just sort of just like just being snarky and just in the background. And eventually like the coolest part about that whole episode that I loved, that I think was my favorite part, was I watched like 4 relapses happen all at once.
Yeah.
Like Blue Train, like we started like you guys started covering live like how good Pirate Rogue or just like pirates are getting.
Yeah.
And I watched like Blue Train being like, well, Blue Train was just like, well, I saw your video, so like I need some pirates, man. And then I saw like Hydra was getting excited, like you're not relapsing, but I just saw you're like, yeah, pirates are good. I could play some pirates. I saw Nate being like, I could play some pirates. I saw Saucy being like, I like pirates. Pirates are good. Danny was getting excited. Like people were like excited to play Pirate Rogue. And so like, I feel like it was like, you know, it was 8th grade again. And I'm like, you know, slipping bags of oregano, right? And I'm like, here's your deck code for Pirate Rogue. Here's your deck code for Garrote Rogue. Right?
Yeah.
All of this in Minecraft. All of this in Minecraft, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, this is a better deck, but like, you know what? We'll stick with Pirate Rogue for now. And so like that was
That's the gateway deck.
I had a lot of fun last week watching that, both as like you know, as a member of the cast and also as a fan. Just sort of taking a moment, kind of learning more about the lore, because again, I don't. It's not like we sit down and like, you know, they don't. Once you become a full host, they don't sit you down. And now you will hear the chronicles of the show. And then, like, Sheep and Hydra. And then, like, you know, they roll Goliath in here. And Goliath's like, you know, it's like, now to tell you a tale of how Saucy Mailman talked to Craig of Canada. And he was like, dude, yes, I will totally take over the show. And, like, you know, like, it's like that never happened. I never got that debriefing. So some of this was new to me. And so that was really cool to experience.
See, that's why I wanted to do it, right? Because as someone who started off as a listener of Into the Wild, a lot of it I knew, and that's how I got into being on Born to Be Wild. But I didn't feel like that is something everybody, you know, that's not common knowledge, right? If you didn't listen in 2017, 2018, 2019, like, you don't know. And like bringing that out, showing that history, I thought was kind of neat, right?
It was really cool.
I really appreciated it too, because like I listened to Well Met, so like I'd heard Danny Donuts before. I think I was able to listen to one episode of Into the Wild before it just like disappeared. Like it's not on podcast platforms anymore. We can't go back and listen to it if we want to. So I, like you, Schmoopy Daddy, I just didn't know either. Yeah. So it was really cool to hear, like you said, the chronicles of the lore of Into/Born to Be Wild.
Yeah, and I was fangirling. So like I was having a good time. I was having a really good time. Everybody was asleep in my hotel room. I had beer. I was slinging comments in the chat. So it was a good time. It was a good time. I again, I'm sorry I couldn't have contributed to Hydra's editing. But I think it worked out for the best, considering that like editing 6 people all at different sound levels sounds challenging and not something I would want to do, actually. So then came first of the month. Got to try and hit Legend again. I did hit Legend first of the month again. This is now 25 months in a row. Yeah, and I started with Garrote Rogue, and I was just like, yeah, I'll play Garrote Rogue. This is probably the best deck. And then I was queuing into nothing but mirrors, like right off the bat. And the thing about mirrors is like there's some mirrors where I feel like there's a lot of skill expressed, Like one of my favorite mirrors of all time was actually Pirate Rogue and like Sunken City, because surprisingly enough, it was not like there's not so much burst that you could just like take out your opponent from 25 or something like that, or you couldn't really like the cannon turns were big. You like got rewarded for trading properly. Being patient with how much resources you committed at one point in time was really important. Like obviously there was like, you know, luck draw, and there was you know, how your list was built was important too. But it felt like a very skill intensive mirror, and like it was kind of cool. And like Corbett, I've heard Corbett talk about how like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't the worst mirror actually, and like there was actually a little bit more to it than just, oh, let's just go face, just go face, just go face. Garrote mirrors are brutal. It feels like whoever high rolls first usually wins, because the high roll is so like brutal, and then you need to like counter high roll so hard just to catch up that it's a 50-50 proposition. I started 8 and 9, and I was like, all right, this ain't working. So then I started going through decks, and the deck that gave me the most traction was Miracle Priest or Horror Priest, depending on how you see it. I started actually winning games with that. I had like a 70% win rate getting the Diamond 5, and then I basically went 50-50 for a couple hours at like D3, and I'm like, what is going on? So after trying a couple other decks and like they weren't working, do not play Unholy DK. Just don't do it. It beats normal Pirate Rogue, but nobody's playing that. If people are playing normal Pirate Rogue, play Unholy DK. Otherwise, do not bother.
At my MMR, shuffling the Plagues in against Garrote actually is pretty impactful, but that may be an MMR thing.
It might be. Sheep, were you watching like last night on stream when I was playing Unholy DK? So I had like one listener who's just like, it was a first time viewer, and they were just like, well, here's my Unholy list, and I was like, okay, I'll play it, and then I played it, and they're just like, and I was just like, this is not a great Unholy list. I'm a lot meaner on my stream.
Yes, it's funny.
He's like, well, I was hoping you could fix it. I'm like, well, there's a channel reward for that. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So then I was just like, I'll play a game for free of like something that I would actually play. And for whatever reason, the code wasn't working, and I was getting pissed. I think it wasn't like telling me there was 31 out of 30 cards, but it was letting me queue it anyway, and then just like not queuing the deck. And I was like, what is going on with this? So I finally get to play this deck. I finally get the Garrote matchup. I get Hell Yeah down, and the viewer in chat is just like, oh yeah, Hell Yeah ends it against Garrote Rogue. And they full comboed on me anyway, using a secret passage and some preps and stuff. Like, so like it's like it literally did not matter. They even Frostplague, like they even I think ate a Frostplague first. So wow. I think it depends on the matchup, where it just like it's not as impactful as you think, because there are tricks you can do, like save your secret passage, shuffle in your Garrotes, passage into the Garrotes, and then I just die because I'm playing Unholy DK.
And that's why I was thinking it was an MMR thing, because the people I'm playing against are like playing down the Street Trickster and then drawing a ton, like to try and get their like
to get to the end of their deck. It's like,
I appreciate that.
Doing me a favor.
So it's just like, all right, this isn't working. Let me play the deck that is just like torching me right now. Let me just play Garrote Rogue. And so I played Garrote Rogue, and I went 11-3 and hit Legend. And so like it was like, okay, and this is it. I didn't see a single mirror though. I was seeing other stuff by the time I was actually playing, which was weird. So I went from like seeing mostly mirrors to seeing no mirrors, but when I saw no mirrors, I was just crushing it. Which we'll talk about, like, you know, meta-analysis later, but I'm pretty convinced that the best deck in the game right now is probably Garrote Rogue. And it's not that you can't target it, or can't try to target it, or can't disrupt it, or can't do silly things to sort of trip it up, but it kind of feels like no matter what you do first, there's a chance they can just swing it back so hard that like, okay, you just lost, sorry. And also, if you do deal with this, there's a 32 to 48 damage combo off the back of that. So, like, haha. So that was Legend Day 1. I hit Legend Day 1, and Day 2 I mowed my phone. So I finally found the time to mow my lawn. It's been weeks. Grass has been growing, and it's been growing very tall. And like I have this policy on my lawn where it's just like I don't really care what type of grass is growing as long as it's green and it looks like grass. I'm okay with it. So some of the grass was very, very tall, and some of the grass was not so tall. And so I was just like, okay, I have to get out here because now I'm worrying that like my kids are going to get ticks if they go and play on our lawn. So I get out there and I start mowing, right? And I've never had this problem before where I put the phone between like the waistband on my boxer shorts and my hip, and I'm like, all right, this is not going to go anywhere. Right. And so like I'm driving. And what you got to realize, though, is like I'm on a ride-on mower, and our yard is not necessarily all that flat. There are definitely hills. There's bumps. There's like a gravel pile and stuff. And so I'm driving around. And, all of a sudden there's a huge whack. And I'm like, oh, man, what'd I hit? And the first thing I see sort of diagonally in front of me is a part of my phone case. And I went, oh, no.
Oh, no.
And Hydra asked, he's just like, yo, how many McGurgles did you let out when you saw that? And I was just like, I let out none because I was too horrified. So I was just like, oh, no.
It would have been like listening to George Carlin if it was me.
So I shut down the mower. And I go looking for it. And it's lying face up with the screen looking at me. And I'm like, all right, that's not so bad. Like, it doesn't look too bad. Like, the case isn't on it anymore. It had a case, but when I found it, it was caseless. Part of the case was later found, like, I'm going to say, like, 30 feet up the hill. Like the mower caught it and cracked her. And just sent her going. So it's like, all right. This is. By the way, this is the phone that I hit Legend on. So I'm like, and so I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, it's not so bad. I flip her over, and I can see part of something exposed at the back where the blade very clearly hit it. And I'm like, all right, does it turn on? And so I click the power button, and it vibrates. But that's about all it does. So I was like, oh, so it's on.
No.
But it's not functional. And Schmoopy Mommy was a saint and took our kids out. It was such a nice day. She took her kids to like the playground. And so like she's getting the kids out of the way in order for me to like do the lawn and not like drive her nuts, like just sort of keep them occupied, right? And so she comes home and like it's like 5 in the afternoon, so like pretty typically like my kids are melting down. My son is actually, he was pretty good. He was outside and he was just like, trying to kill various like invasive caterpillars that we have crawling around. He was just like, haha, I'm getting them all, Dad. I was like, good job, Schmoopy. Daughter was losing her stuffing because she insists on being covered head to toe with like long sleeve clothing and long pants, even though it's like 83 outside. And so it's like, you're clearly overheating and also tantruming because you're 3. Have this ice pop and sit on this couch. And so I go inside in part to deal with that, but also in part to be like, hi dear, I destroyed my phone. And she's like, we just paid it off. So, being my wonderful wife, a person who grinds to Wild Legend every month, got on the grind and got me a phone that night. Got it all souped up that night. We paid for it. I paid for it, as I should have. And I made dinner. It was breakfast for dinner. It's like, you can handle scrambled eggs and bacon, Schmoopy Daddy. Go fix this. I have to fix this right now. So it's like, okay, I'll do that. So I left my lawn half mowed. We finished it today. But yeah, I mowed my phone. And let this be a cautionary. Yeah, she got hit pretty hard, and that had a case on it. You should see the case. Yeah. I left the case on my lawn because it's funny. I'll let Schmoopy find it at some point. And so let that be a cautionary tale to anybody who plays Wild for too long. If you play Wild for too long, the resulting brain damage can impact your decision making in multiple ways. One of which could be, high risk behavior, like bringing your phone without any pockets onto a ride-on mower. It really must have like fell out of my pocket on one pass, and on the second pass was sitting just like perfectly in the grass for me to come and whack it. Because I've got it at the highest setting. So like if it was sitting flat, I would unironically I would have like driven like directly over it, been none the wiser. Been looking around later, be like, where's my phone? And then like, started looking around on the lawn and would have found it. But instead I smoked it. And so yeah, that was my week in a nutshell. I hurt my knee, but not too bad. It's a little sore, but we're fine. Goofed off with episode 200, hit legend, and mowed my phone. Do we have any news this week?
Kinda, sorta.
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
There was no news.
Well, we had a hero Brawliseum. We won't talk about the brawl. I don't want to talk about the brawl, actually. I'm changing my mind. I don't want to talk about the brawl.
The brawl is a Brawliseum. It exists. It's standard.
I did one.
This is a wild podcast. You did, didn't you?
I don't want to talk about it.
I watched that.
I think I have to talk about it, though.
I think now you do.
You have to. You have to.
Oh, so it's like, what do you do day 2 in the month when you're getting wild queued? And there's a wild Brawliseum up, or sorry, a standard Brawliseum. Like you have to do the Brawliseum, right? So I'm like, all right, somebody send me a code. So he sent me a code, and I was just like, okay, I need idiots in VC. All right, come on, we need to talk this out. I don't know anything about the meta. I need a list. Give me the list. Tell me how to play the list. And so bravely, Tom Carter, HS hops in VC. But before Tom Carter was Praise Chicken Drumstick, and Praise Chicken Drumstick is yapping about all kinds of stuff. I have no idea what Drumstick's talking about. Like Drumstick's talking about like mulligan advice. I think you always keep this, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like looking at the list. I'm like, I don't think we do any of this.
I don't think he does either.
Dude, I'm like, dude, do you know standard? No, he's just like, it's all Hearthstone, right? And he's just like chirping along. I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, fine. And so Tom gets there, and Tom is very calm. Have we had Tom on the show before?
I don't know that we have. We should fix that.
Maybe future guest Tom sometime. So Tom comes on, and Tom has a radio quality voice. So Tom is like, hello, I am Tom. Schmoopy, don't do anything Drumstick said. And so like I'm like, all right, well now the term timer's going, and I really gotta get going here. And so we tried to play it out. I was playing this like spell damage druid that had
it's called Hybrid Druid.
Hybrid Druid?
Mm-hmm.
Hydra Druid?
It's I wish it was Hydra Druid. It probably would have been more successful. I tried it. It didn't work great for me in the brawl. I think I won a mirror my first game, and then I lost the subsequent 3 games. But the one that really stung was some lunatic queued up Whizbang the Wonderful for the brawl.
Yeah.
Some absolute
Red
Giga
Dragons.
Chad.
That's so cool.
Some absolute Giga Chad lunatic paid 1,000 gold to bring Whizbang the Wonderful into the brawl and high rolled the ever living crap out of me. It wasn't even Warlock. Like if it was Warlock, I would have been like, oh no, I died. I lost to DK. I lost to waves and waves of that mage spell that makes minions based on like the spell types that you're doing. Because like we're playing the game, and like, you know, again, Tom's doing his best, but like he's kind of trying to be polite, and he's not speaking like very clearly like when I need direction. So he's like, well, yeah. He's like, well, yeah, I think you do this. I'm sorry,
Tom doesn't sound like that.
Well, you said this is. I think you do this.
This is Tom.
And Tom was right every time he said it, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure his advice was excellent. His advice, but I couldn't hear him. And Drumstick's like, I think you do this, and I'm like, well, I can hear him, so like, I guess I'll go with idiot over there. So I'll. Times I was just like, no, I don't like your advice either. I'll do my own thing. And usually I'm picking the worst of the 3 options. And so like it was just sort of a comedy of errors to a 1 in 3. I got 2 measly packs, and And yeah, that was my Brawliseum. I'm usually a lot better in those. Usually I have a deck that I really like.
It sounded like the Three Stooges play Tavern Brawl.
Except Tom wasn't necessarily a stooge. I just couldn't necessarily understand Tom, nor was it's right at the end of stream, so I'm less patient than usual too. It's just like, I don't have time to listen to this volume. I'm just gonna do my thing. Because I'm not wearing headphones or anything, it's coming through my speakers. And so it's like he's whispering. If only there was a nub you can turn up. Well, the thing is again, it's coming through my speakers, so I don't want reverberation through my microphone.
So you can always right click on Tom's portrait and then drag the volume.
Okay, so you're making a lot of sense right now, Sheep. You're making a lot of sense right now, and I don't know if I appreciate that. Okay, that whole making sense thing. Right?
Where was I yesterday doing school?
Hindsight is always 20/20, you know.
I think it was funnier just to watch me sort of flail and struggle in the format. I played that deck, by the way. I queued it back up, and I played it to Gold 5.
Nice.
Now I'm running into Paladin, and so I need better decks than probably Hybrid Druid to beat Paladin. I don't know. Apparently Paladin farms it. But that's neither here nor there, because that's not wild news. That's just Schmoopy's an idiot news, which is
which is wild adjacent. It's wild adjacent.
It's wild adjacent. Do we want to hop into the meat of our show, as it were, the discussion topic?
Let's do it.
Okay. So to start out our discussion, the big news, Schmoopy in an excited voice. I'm excited to announce the announcement of the return of the Born to Be Wild Listener Series. This series is an 8-week, 5 weeks of regular season, 3 weeks of playoffs, wild format, custom deck building competition held on the North America server for game content prizes. This season's theme harkens back to some of our favorite challenges of the past. If you're interested in joining the fray, start time, week of May the 19th. Join the Listener Series Discord for updates, pings for official registration, and very soon, the weeks 1 through 5 challenges to be revealed. And that statement is going to be posted. I guess I will throw that announcement on the big server, and the official Born to Be Wild Twitter will tweet it out, and I'll retweet it, and we'll post it in the Listener Series Discord, which is weird because they're already there, but it'll tell them that it's happening. And so that's going to be a thing that is coming. Somebody's already highlighting it and doing it. I love my co-hosts. Part of the reason I was brought on, well, not part of the reason, but one of my duties when I was brought on, that Sheep and Hider floated was, well, why don't you bring back the Listener Series? And it was a little bit too short notice to do it last expansion, but I think one of our best timings, probably minus a couple weeks, was the one that we did back in March of the Lich King, because it was kind of hitting when the meta was getting stale. And so I think timing it to be what we think is, we're going to say roughly when a mini set should come, based on the biorhythm of what's been going on recently. We have a heroic Brawliseum. Roughly a week later, we get a mini set. Yeah. This has been 2 months since the set came out. This is roughly when we would get a mini set. I like timing it with roughly when the mini set would come out, because that would... I don't know. Usually the mini set either completely breaks Wild and makes it unplayable, or something small and powerful happens and makes something a little overpowered, or it's just nothing actually happens, which hasn't happened in a while, and then it's a stale meta. But typically I've found that I don't know, the last sort of month or so of the set ends up dragging on, or even 2 months of the set drags on. So the Listener Series being timed this way will hopefully get some people who are interested in, who are, playing in THL, but are interested in doing the Listener Series. They don't have to do as much double duty, because pretty soon we're going to have eliminations and playoffs will be clear and people will be freed up. It also, gives a little bit of something to do while we're just treading water, waiting for new cards. And yeah, so I'm excited to push it off now, and also to be doing some of our old favorites, so that we know we're going to have a strong competition, and to bring hopefully back some people to try it again.
One of my favorite things
abounds.
Yeah, I love the interaction with the community coming together when we do the listener series, because, you know, people brainstorm, some people team up and they talk a little bit, but like people talk about what are we going to do this week? What are we going to do that week? And then one of my favorite things is actually interacting with my opponent has been one of my favorite things. That, and you don't have to do this, but I actually think it's kind of funny to be voice chatting with whom I am versing at the time. And
Oh, wow.
like, oh yeah, it's funny doing it. And by no means do you need to do this, or that is like not part of it, but it's kind of funny to be chatting, you know, over voice chat with the person. And I mean, I would mute myself if you think that you drew a bad card or whatever. but it's just kind of neat, and it gets you, you know, into that. You know, you're in the community, you're talking to different people, you're doing this. It's just this connection thing, and it brings us all together. And we talked about this. Sheep, you brought up in episode 200 that this community, this show that we have, isn't anything without the community, right? And so getting the community together and chatting about this stuff and playing together, it's super fun. It's a load of fun. And if you lose, if you get kicked out, who cares? Like, we were just playing some games.
And again, just to emphasize, it is a custom deck building competition. So there'll be challenges each week, and each challenge will force you to make something different than what would be a normal meta deck. I think, without a shadow of a doubt, this is my favorite format of all the ones that we play. The way that I think Sheep feels about Twist is the way I feel about the Born to Be Wild listener series. It is one of the reasons why I think I get so close to either getting in the finals or was the bridesmaid for Doc BOMD in the final one week, was because it's like you know, the challenge of finding like the next best thing. If you can't do the meta thing, well, what are some other tricks, or what are some packages that you can use that make a deck that's competitive? And then the testing. And honestly, the testing and the teaming up and the like discussing approaches and what decks you're going to bring, I find is frequently more fun even than the matches themselves. Because like you're like talking every day or every other day or every couple days with somebody like seriously about like, okay, what are you bringing? Here's my idea. Let's refine this. And then everybody plays Maxi at some point. And then you like, you know, you're playing or back in the day, man, this is like season 2, Megamog. Megamog would go through and would play everybody and see what everybody was doing and scout everyone. And then you determine what the best deck is, and like you know, you play against somebody else, and then they either know what the best deck is or they don't know, and they don't ban right, and you're like, all right, I got a little edge on this one. There's something to the preparation that is fun, and it is intense, but it's fun, and you don't have to do that if you really don't want to. You could just slap cards together and probably show up and have some fun. And since we do a Swiss format in the competition, the best players play the best players, and if you're not doing a great time with your record, you lose the first week. You're playing against somebody else who's also 0-1. So, like, again, if you're just there to meme and just sort of hang out, you'll probably be queued with the other people that are there to meme and hang out. So it really is a competition for everyone. You don't have to show up and be like, all right, well, there's going to be some game content prizes on the line. I know in the past we've offered packs and stuff. We're still nailing down those details, exactly what's available to us. But yeah, if you're like, ooh, I like a little Gamba, sign up and check it out. Do you have anything else, Sheep, you wanted to add on the listener series, or are we?
I think more than anything else, just to kind of yes and what you were saying about Twist. Honestly, the reason why I'm so excited about Twist most of the time is because it gives me listener series vibes. Like the listener series is what I want Twist to become. And I don't think it's ever going to get there, which is a testament to how much I enjoy our listener series. So, like Shmoopy said, we do the Swiss pairing. So if you don't do so hot at the beginning, don't sweat it. You're going to face against other people who didn't as well. And hey, maybe that'll give you a competitive advantage. And if all you want to do is hang out, play funky decks, you can actually do that and have a shot at actually winning instead of like, oh, they played Treasure Distributor on 1. Oh,
Uh-oh.
Pirates away. Oh, Pirates away. Oh,
I should have
Yahar.
brought Pirate DH. How did I not see Pirate DH as the meta breaker? I think I've lost week 1 on at least 2 or 3 occasions and still made playoffs. So like it's definitely possible. Again, don't feel like, because that's a frequent problem we've had in the past. Is people lose the first week. They're like, well, I'm out. It's like, well, I don't think you understand how the standings work. You actually are all right. You can still sneak in, and we do a top 8. So depending on how big the field is, like we'll do top 8 and we'll go from there.
Proof being is when Sir Julian the Tall, I versed him week 1, and I won. And guess who won the whole listener series?
True.
Jules.
Are you ready to talk a little wild meta?
Welcome to the meta. The meta so good. Meow.
Can I quote NHL fan briefly?
Sure.
He's looking at it. He's like, this is not like the worst, because I was talking to him, about reformatting some stuff for the listener series, just tuning it up or changing it slightly, since I'm in the position to do that. And he's like, this meta is actually pretty good for a listener series because there's a lot to do. It's actually wide open if you just ignore Rogue. And now that's a big if, right? But that's how I kind of felt on my Legend climb, was like, okay, the best things I could be doing in the format would be Rogue. And like some of the Rogue stuff didn't even feel real. It's just like, if it's not Garrote, I probably can't play it. But in a deck building competition where you can ban something, like that leaves the rest of the meta to kind of be up to whatever it's going to be. And so that's kind of where we find ourselves. Until we find this goofy deck. So I got this deck from, again, Tom Carter in my chat. Was the first one to submit this as a viewer deck for me on my stream. I think the first place I saw it was actually probably an Imic Twitter, but I think he got it from a Chinese site or something. It's a goofy combo. So you've got Mystery Egg, which is a 5-mana 0/3 Death Rattle card from new to this set. That says, what's the exact text in front of me? It's summon a copy, or not summon a copy. Add a copy to your hand of a beast from your deck. It costs 5 less, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks pretty innocuous. Looks like what am I possibly going to be doing with this? And he got it from a guy playing it on ladder. He lost and found it funny. Okay, right. So Imic picked up this deck. He's like, oh, this is cool. I'll play this. And the list that I saw on there is just like, well, you're not really doing anything to try and survive aggro here. So I don't know if this is really going to go anywhere. And then I saw the next place I ended up seeing this thing is Sidisi, I believe, hits rank 1 on NA with this. Now, what Sidisi did was it was the end of the month. I don't know how often Sidisi plays Wild. So I think he probably smurfed a bunch of people, had a crazy MMR boost, hit rank 1, and then didn't bother to try and defend rank 1 because there's no need to, because you entered at rank 1. So okay, I got rank 1, cool. And so it's like, all right, so that's a different kind of list. That still feels like bait, right? That still feels like, okay, well, this is a really good player, probably playing against players much worse than themselves, having a crazy win rate, and then okay, you post a rank 1, but I don't know if you guys remember when Keith Numbers did the... Did you pay a ton of attention when Keith Numbers was doing his free-to-play run-throughs?
No, I just remember he was the sort of OG listener deck guy.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy I stole my vibe from, right? So that's the immediate intellectual theft, right? So just nobody was doing it for a couple years, and I was like, well, if nobody's going to be cantankerous and play viewer decks, I might as well be cantankerous and play viewer decks.
But the smurfing that you're talking about sounds a lot like the Reba Ryan challenge, where people who are consistently in Top Legend are making a new account, playing odd paladin, not rogue, and just wrecking shop and entering even higher than their main accounts because of the same phenomenon you were discussing earlier.
Yeah, the Hearthstone sort of MMR, like, it's meant for a long time, not a short time. So like your MMR will adjust, your matchmaking rating will adjust the longer you play, because assumed once you get into that higher matchmaking like rate or rank, when you then play, you're going to play against people who are better, your win rate will drop, your MMR will drop, you'll normalize wherever you're supposed to be.
Right.
In theory. So Keith started doing a bunch of these, and at the time it was Stormwind, and so he took Hijo's Fatigue Seedlock list, and Hijo was like had just refined it, right, and just made it like a thing, and he had just done a Giants Seedlock run on NA, so he did the Fatigue Seedlock run on EU. He's like, okay, guys, it's my boss battle. I'm gonna hit Legend. What rank do you think I'm gonna come in at? And people are betting. Because he had like a 90%, he's like a 90% win rate or something like that with a brand new account. People are like 100, 24, 300. He came in at rank 5. Which was funny because Hydro was rank 6 with the exact same list.
Oh wow.
So
That's
just
awesome.
to sort of put like, and like it's hysterical when it's revealed and he's looking at the ladder. He's just like,
Wow.
So like just to show you, like, again, was Keith as sharp a player or as skilled a player at that time as Hijo at that list? Probably not. But you can get that kind of new player boost, and it can kind of catapult you into a spot where it's just like, oh, wow, all right, well, look at it. I mean, I'm here now, so, like, cool. I don't think he ever played that account again. And so, like, I'm looking at, like, the Sidisi, which is why when I look at a Sidisi list like that, it's just like, okay, I don't know how much Wild they really play. He hits rank 1 with it. I mean, that's cool. That's whatever. So then, Tom sends it to me, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's. I don't get the list. It looks like a pile of cards. It's missing some of the stuff in the Sidisi list that I kind of liked as far as survivability, and the whole gimmick again behind the deck is you play you play your mystery egg. And then you trigger its death rattle somehow. We've got Play Dag, we've got Feign Death. You could just let your opponent kill it. What's neat is its Mystery Egg is a miniaturized card, so you can play it, and then you have a 1/1 mini in your hand. And then when it dies or its death rattle is triggered, you're getting one of 2 cards in exchange in in the list that we're looking at right now. You're either getting Princess Huhuran? Huhuran? Is that how we pronounce it?
I say Huhuran, but I mean,
Huhuran's
who knows?
fine. Or you get Mok'Nathal Lion. And Mok'Nathal Lion will copy, it'll be a 0 mana 5/2 rush. It'll copy the death rattle of the egg, as long as there's, the egg to copy on the board. So, presumably you've played your mini, and now you're copying your mini with a 0 mana Lion. That rushes in, and then it dies. And then it adds a 0 mana copy of either Princess, which is a 0 mana, at this point, not a 5 mana, but a 0 mana 6/5 battle cry, trigger the death rattle of a friendly minion. So you're either getting a free 6/5 or you're getting free 5/2s with rush that also make more 6/5s or more 5/2s with rush. And it sets up almost like a duels-like board state where you are constantly trading for free, spending no mana, and just sort of degenerating into layers upon layers of threats. Because at some point, if you can work it out, like you can have multiple death rattles go off with something like Feign Death, and now you have lions copying lions, and now you're going infinite with lions. And so like you're being very clever with your trades. It feels like the kind of deck that is going to be eventually, if it gets popular, could easily be a deck that sends me to lower MMR permanently until it's either fixed or until I feel like I need to hit Legend, and thus I'm battling it, because it is, once it gets going, it is so dominant at fighting for board. It's just goofy. Like, it just eats Miracle Rogues. I beat a rank 9 Miracle Rogue post Legend again on the day that Tom submitted this, because it wasn't fair. It was like, okay, you make 8/8s, but like I have infinite 5/2 rushes. So who's gonna win? Like, would you rather fight like, you know, one duck-sized horse or a million horse-sized ducks? And like, he picked the horse-sized ducks, and it was a bad choice. What were you gonna say, Chief?
Yeah, this morning on mobile before work, I was playing not this particular list, but I think I was playing Ben from Work's list. My opponent was a Miracle Rogue. They had, I think, 5 8/8s and like a 3/3, something like that. And so then I do my combo, and I'm left with a board full of, you know, 1-0-3 or 1-1. I think it was a 1-1. I think like 4 6/5s and a 5-2. And they're left with no board whatsoever. And they did not elect to continue playing that game. It's just like, oh, you went through all this. You have no more cards in your hand. I have tons of cards in my hand and this board. And if you somehow were to just deal with this board,
just otra vez. It's like you do it again.
I've got 9 lives in my hand. Like, I could just keep on going.
Yeah.
I thought Hunter wasn't supposed to be able to have cards in hand. What's going on here?
Between like 9 lives, we got a meat wagon. Oh, this was a funny experience. I have somebody in my chat pretty regularly who I've known for, I think, like 5 years now online. Her name's Everest, and like, you know, when I first met her, she was a much more serious Hearthstone player. You know, Stormwind happened. She sort of fell out of love with the game. She was kind of stuck in between like a tryhard and a memer. Like she likes kind of like refining her own lists and then hitting legend with them. And that got harder and harder to do. And so, like, you know, she's in and out of the game, you know, pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And but like, she enjoys a really good meme. Like I know her from, like, you know, Swaguar's Discord. So she's like one of the meme crowd. And so like, all right, let's play some Huhuran Hunter. And she's like, what? Because she knows the card, and she's just like, I don't even know if I have this card crafted. And it's just like, oh, well, this is a Meta Tyrant. She's like, what? And so we're playing, and the first game I queued against was Tom, who's playing the deck, and I'm playing one of Praise Chicken Drumstick's like Reno Hunters. And the thing about Praise Chicken Drumstick is he doesn't have all the cards anymore, and he doesn't also kind of like necessarily pay attention to what's going on or play a lot of Hearthstone. So he sent me a list, but like I don't have any Dreadscale or Blood or Serpent Bloom in it. So like I'm playing sort of like a scuffed Reno Hunter into this deck. And I'm doing play-by-play of my demise. I'm like, oh no, Tom's played Carrion Studies on one. He's gonna have a cheap Death Rattle later. I'm like, okay. And Zev's like, okay. I'm like, oh no, he's coined the Meat Wagon. She's like, Meat Wagon? Right? Because Meat Wagon, if it dies, tutors the egg. And if it tutors the egg, now I can do something like I can play dead, or I can, you know, pop the egg on. I could pop the egg on something and get that rolling that way, or then I could bring it back with 9 lives, right? So it's like Meat Wagon is a way to start your combo going and start the process of starting to fight for the board. And she's like, Meat Wagon? Why is Meat Wagon being played in the year of our Lord 2024? It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, right? And then the mystery egg comes down. Like, no, not the mystery egg. I don't think we pop it now. And she's like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, Tom's making a giant board of stuff. She's like, what is happening? What is the interaction? Because like, there's free 6/5s, and there's free rushers, and there's a giant board presence. Like, oh, well, I guess we died. And it just like getting to experience that through somebody who's passionate about Hearthstone, seeing that for the first time was very, very, very funny. It's worth noting that this deck does have bad matchups. Back up where I'm playing right now, because again, you hit Legend day 1, it's a little bit goofy up there. People sort of play what they want, but they also sort of target things that they're seeing often. And since this has been sort of, I guess, popular-ish, people are testing this, I'm seeing a lot of, like, Exodia Mage. It's Quest Mage, but you copy a bunch of Sorcerer's Apprentices, you play a bunch of spells, you get your Time Warp, and once you're done with your Time Warp, there's a couple different win conditions. I think the more popular list that people are trending towards is Ignite and Luna Stargazer. So you get to the end of your deck, you play Ignite, Ignite goes into your deck, you play another card on the edge, Luna gets Ignite to your hand, you play Ignite Ignite goes into the deck, but then Luna immediately draws it. Play Ignite, go on and so forth, and it's all free because you've got four Sorcerer's Apprentice out there. But also another version of it is just you run Tony, so you drop Tony after your Time Warp. You got free fireballs, you win the game. GG's. So yeah, Quest Mage isn't gone. It's just in a less annoying, kill you faster package. This deck can't really beat that, not unless we start teching in flares. We do have a flare in the ETC's band.
I just had like
deck.
a whole Emperor Thorson like flashback.
Yeah, it's
Just
like you
saying.
see the Emp come down, you're like, oh my god, I died. I absolutely died. I remember that feeling. It's just like they have Ice Block up, Emperor Thorson's down, I died. The other seemingly unwinnable matchup for me feels like Shudderwalk Shaman. Shudderwalk Shaman, especially if they're playing any kind of freezies.
Avalanche.
The way that the timing, like when you're dropping your Mystery Egg to when you're triggering its Death Rattle, the fact that like it's happening around the same time that they're playing Holiday on curve, and they make a 1/1 taunt that you can't kill your Lion on, it feels significant to me. It feels like something where like I have to vary up my play in order to play around that, which is awkward and weird and obnoxious because that gives them another turn to disrupt me. It feels a little bit, again, Reno Shudderwalk Shaman is just rife with disruption. So any kind of disruptive deck is probably going to be not that great into it. But that being said, if it's a deck that plays big things like Evenlock or Miracle Rogue, or even like Pirates that you can sort of pop the Lion on, I mean, this is just gonna you just push people so hard off board. It feels like a polarized style Caverns Below Rogue type deck. And there's still some debate on this is still being refined. I've given you a list that I labeled as Tom Carter's Huhuran Hunter, and this is like the most up to date as of like 12 hours ago, but like I'm seeing hot debate about all sorts of things. Most of the time when you see this deck net decked, like on Neon 31 sites, there is a Tundra Rhino main deck. I know Tom is now very much pro Tundra Rhino.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, so now I'm getting free Tundra Rhinos when I trigger the Egg Death Rattle. The problem is you need at least another Death Rattle trigger, though, to ensure that, oops, you don't always get Tundra Rhino. Because Tundra Rhino is a brick for this deck. It's great when you've got a bunch of princesses out and, like, they can't all go face, and, oops, they can go face for free. Like, that's great. The high roll is awesome. But the problem is that's a high roll. That's not regular. And the number of times that I've needed a Lion and instead I get a Rhino, and it's like, well, I die now. Because I can't keep the thing going.
Lion, Rhino, die now?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes you're the one dying. Right? Like you've not made enough. You've not made a big enough board that the Rhino is actually significant. So it's a little bit goofy as far as like what you want. Yeah. Tom's saying in the chat, Rhino's good against Reno, worse against aggro.
Thanks, Raxius.
Raxius had your back.
Laughed at my dino. It was dino, not dino. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, I get it now.
Sheep, where do you land on the Rhino in, Rhino out debate?
So my few games that I've played with it, I haven't played with Rhino in main deck, and the list that I was playing had Rhino in ETC, and I think I was always picking Rhino from the ETC, but being able to, whenever the Death Rattle goes off, either being able to play Princess and thus getting another like crack at it, or Machnathal Lion and being able to deal with board and then having another crack at it. I feel like that consistency is just so good that I like having Rhino and ETC to have it there. I don't think that I'd want to main deck it because of that same bricking into a free Tundra Rhino, which is wild.
Which is funny because it's like what I kind of like about like having the Rhino in the ETC, and when again Tom is clarifying, like his pocket meta is mostly Reno decks, so having the Rhino main deck for the extra reach, for the high roll, for the pushing damage, makes more sense. Because also, there's no guarantee they're dealing with the egg, because like they're gonna need removal for it. They're not gonna have like a lot of board necessarily a lot of times to fight and stop it. So against aggro, he says no, Rhino's never main deck. So again for if people are listening, they're at a little bit of a lower MMR, or they're like 10x gamers, you probably want to have your Rhino in your ETC, because I know there's turns where like if it's turn 5 and I have my combo going, I will float 5 mana. It's entirely possible. Like I'll play my HP or something like that, right? Like I'll do something to try and fill the gap. But like I'm just sort of twiddling my thumbs while I'm doing my dumb broken thing for free. So dropping an ETC and grabbing a Rhino, I don't find all that taxing, because okay, it takes up a board space. I have a 4/4 instead of a lion trigger now. But like I sort of see it as like, oh, it's a setup turn, but also I'm doing stuff on my setup turn, so I don't feel like I'm losing tempo.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense.
So I like the Tundra Rhino in the ETC. You're going to see a lot of lists. I know there's at least 2 up on Neon's site right now that have the Rhino main deck. I think, again, those are people probably playing a little bit higher up on the ladder. They need the push. I don't recall what Sidisi's list had, but I wouldn't if you're seeing more aggro. I would keep the Rhino out, keep it just to Princess Huhuran, and the Mok'Nathal Lions.
It's Haharan.
Haharan? Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Ha-ha!
I will alternately still screw it up from time to time, because that's what I do. I'll forget things. And I do have one last little.
It's Huehueran. Thank you.
Huehueran? Okay, got it. I have one last little detail and little story aside to share about this.
Oh.
So in the pandemic, right? Like I made a decision where it's just like, listen, you're not buying new games. Like you're not playing other games. Shmoopy's little, but Shmoopy's really needy. You really need to just play something that's on mobile. Hearthstone's your main game. You're consuming raffle content. You're getting dust baited. You probably need to fund your collection a little bit, right? And so this was Shmoopy's like peak Shmoopy whale period, where I'm buying 40 card packs, right? Like bundles, and I'm opening cards, and people are like, wow, you're buying a lot of cards. Like, you ever get that? Like, you're like opening something, and then your friends are like chirping in. It's like, wow, another legendary? You're opening a lot of packs. I'm like, I want to unfriend you so bad right now. Don't judge me for this. Right? And so like you're filling out your collection, hashtag whale problems. And I remember the pack. I remember opening her and being so disappointed. Being like, oh, this. Even back then, I don't think I was very good, but I'd be like, oh, man, this card sucks. This card's really bad. And now, and like I was like, I really wanted something else. I think like I wanted some other. What set is she from? I don't even know what set is she from. Is she
Whispers of the Old Gods? If I recall
thought it'd be
correctly.
Whispers of the Old Gods. So like I wanted like I see a legendary. I'm like, oh, I want one of the old gods. I want like Yogg, or I want N'Zoth, or obviously you get Cthulhu for free. And I assumed it'd be old gods because she's insectoid, right? And she's one of the insect people, and so that makes sense that it'd be old gods. Okay, anyway, so I see legendary and I click on it. It's like, and it's not one of the old gods. It's Princess Huhuran, and she has been sitting in my collection rotting. I don't think I have played her unironically, except maybe off of a Discover, improperly, off of like Deathstalker Rexar, once, or twice in my Hearthstone career, and now she's like. She's not the centerpiece, but she is a big part of why this deck is successful. And it is so goofy how this is a phenomenon we're going to keep seeing in Wild as they keep buffing cards, old cards, as new synergies develop. Like it's kind of finally happening. We're kind of seeing some stuff kind of like crack that's just like, this hasn't been good for like Meat Wagon. That's a Labore Sangre card for like fetching frog. Nobody plays that card, right? Like nobody's sane.
That's a
plays
Jackie
that.
Chan card. He's the one who revealed it back in the day.
Right? Like nobody.
This is why y'all will regret disenchanting your Dusk Fallen Avianas one day.
Only if they buffer. Only if they buffer.
Duskfall Aviana has a combo. She has a combo. Like there's a way to make her dormant with what's the bait legendary card everybody thought was going to be busted in ashes? Medivh.
Oh, Maiev.
Maiev, that one.
Maiev.
That one. The other M name. Wrong. I got everything wrong about that. It was the wrong gender. It was the wrong like legendary. It's the wrong cost, wrong effect, wrong everything. But you could basically make Duskfallen Aviana dormant, and then when she wakes up, what is it, 2 turns later?
Mm-hmm.
You get her effect first. So it's like it was like a Mark Makes deck or something like that. It's just like, look how long now I get to do my silly combo. So, like, at least she has a combo. I mean, there are worse legendaries, but, like, this one was just, like... She's not even so bad that it was, like... I felt... Oh, man, I can't believe I got this card. It's just... She was so mid, it was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow,
oh, look,
5
this,
mana 6/5.
This 5-mana play dead. And now she's a 0-mana play dead with a 6/5 body. Okay.
Okay, we can work on those. So, do I think this is anywhere near the best deck in the format? Probably not. It feels a lot like Cavern's Rogue to me, where it's something that's super polarizing. But because it's super polarizing, it's a real deck. It's gonna make its place in the meta. You will lose to it. It will annoy you probably at some point if you're dumb enough to play for board. Hi, right? Sheep didn't raise his hand there on cue, but you know he's right there with us. He's right.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't.
Podcasting is an audio medium, so I said it with my voice so that the listeners would know.
This is definitely gonna impact you. And again, Tom's got some. Yeah. Again, this is Tom's list. Tom actually went with the XL on this one, which is a little bit interesting as far as combos go.
Yeah, that's right.
But you really, really don't want to draw your beasts. But you can tutor them. But you really, really don't want to draw your beasts, right? You can get to the egg with Meat Wagon. You can mulligan for the egg, but you do not want to draw the beasts, which is why we also run something like, Spinley, so that we can send our hand back into the deck. All right. So like I really like the fact that it's Renathal for the added health. I like it for the added survivability you can pack in. The pieces that you're using, you really, really don't want to draw. It's clever making it XL. And Corb even complimented Tom on it, and Tom's really proud of that. And I think Tom should be proud of that. But like he's preening a little bit in chat. He's using his suave Argentine peacock feathers and being like, my deck was complimented. That definitely didn't sound like Tom, but you get the idea.
It didn't sound like Tom at all.
You get the idea. Anyway. Anyway, that is the new Goofy deck list that I would keep an eye on. That again, if you listen to the podcast, you get a little sneak preview of before you lose to it on ladder, or you craft it in gold, knowing our audience. So there you go.
For the video enjoyers, my collection is the one that's on here, and
wait a minute,
I already had all but one of the cards in gold. So I crafted a second while we were talking. I crafted a second True Aim Crescent in gold, so that now it's fully gold.
True Aim Crescent is a 1-mana 1/4 weapon with a strong effect situationally. It would not shock me if True Aim Crescent saw play at a later meta with different cards. Like that's I don't think that's a waste of gold necessarily.
No, I think
I don't think it's a waste either, but I mean, I had to use 1200 dust because this really fun deck was one epic away from being fully gold.
I know, it's such a problem when it's like, I'm only missing this one or that one. Okay, I guess I'll just do it.
It happens to me sometimes where, like, again, I'm streaming and I get a viewer deck and somebody's just like, Shrimpy, you're really going to leave, like, this much left of gold? I'm like, well, I'll tell you what. If I win with it, I'll make it all gold, right? But the deck is dog water and I don't win with it. And it's like, all right, great. Whew. Dodged the bullet. But every once in a while.
I wouldn't do this with, like, so and so's like Ignite mage that is also a big spell mage, but it also runs Ignite.
Yeah, or like it's more like Final Union vomits up like a Silence Priest that he queued one game of and then lost and then didn't play Hearthstone for 2 months afterwards. But he sends me the code and he's just like, Schmoopy, that's a great deck list you got. I see you got a couple cards missing that aren't gold yet. Well, let's see if we win the game, Union, right? And then it's an AFK opponent, and it's like, oh god, no.
That shouldn't count.
No. Anyway, that's what I got as far as new and exciting stuff this week.
Unrelated advice with Schmoopy Daddy.
Oh.
Well, Schmoopy Daddy, I know that you've seen some hardships recently, right? You had to get the expense of a new cellular telephone, right?
This is
Right.
true.
You learn the hard way. I have a problem. A lot of the pairs of pants that I own, they don't have there's no pockets. I don't have pockets. Okay.
Oh no.
So I'm more of a Lululemon kind of guy. So I also have to clean my gutters and pressure wash my roof, my shingles. But I also need to have my cell phone so I can listen to my audiobooks. Now, while I'm up there, it's gonna be wet, right? So I got a pressure washer. There's gonna be soap. There's gonna be water. There's gonna be like algae. There's gonna be a bunch of green, slippery stuff. I got like all the leaves, everything.
Gotcha.
But I ain't got no I ain't got no pockets, and
Yes.
I also don't want to lose. I don't want to lose my phone. I don't want to break my phone. It's just a 2-story home. I'm kind of afraid actually to have to get a new phone. So can you, speaking from experience, can you advise me what to do?
Sure. So is it an option? Hear me out. This might be crazy. Is it an option to have your phone playing the audiobook, but have the phone resting safely on the ground somewhere not directly below the ladder, but away from the ladder, but lower than the ground, or on the ground?
What if I have to rewind? What if I miss something?
Oh, okay. Well, in this case, I'm afraid you're just not cleaning your gutters. Like, you got to abandon it. You know what? You're probably, if you let it go long enough, the sludge probably becomes sentient. And since you were there first, there's a good chance you can probably dovetail this into some sort of like, deity worship sort of situation. You might be able to get them to work for you, possibly as a second income stream. And like, depending on what sort of products that they can, produce, or what they offer, possibly some sort of I don't know, we'll just say like facial lotion, maybe intelligent algae facial lotion is going to be like all the rage in Singapore in a couple years. That's I think that's your best bet at this point. I think that's your best bet, because you can't miss needing to rewind your audio play. So like, I think you should bank on I think you should let her grow, and I think you should bank on the good old Darwin and mutation taking its course, and get some sentient algae.
Would you like some actual advice, Mr. Hydralisk?
What do you mean actually?
If you can beat that, let's go.
What do you mean actual advice?
So I go running like a couple times now, and I don't leave my phone in my pocket, right? What I have is like a little band that goes on my arm.
That's cheating.
And then I connect it there, and boom, I'm running with my phone on my arm instead of like in my pocket. If you don't have any pockets, you just get like a running armband, slide your phone into that, and then it's with you. It's in your little case.
Okay,
it's right
fine.
there. And
now that you
there
mention it, okay, now that you mention it, Cheap, okay, I'm now remembering my dad's an avid fly fisher, right? And like you don't necessarily want to take your phone to the stream with you because it could fall in, right? Unless you get the phone that I got, in which case at up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes, it's good to go. But regardless, right? They actually make these phone cases that you can wear on your neck, right? That are waterproof, that have a touch screen on them. So like you could wear that, and that'd be around your neck, and then you could like flip it and do your rewind if you want to. But really, I'm gonna encourage you to pursue the algae line. I think being God Hydra to a couple little green squirmers, possibly teach them their first, give them fire. Maybe don't give them fire. Maybe we don't give them fire. You get the idea, though.
Maybe Hydra should not become the Prometheus of the slime race.
Right. Advance their society and build them up, and that's what I would do.
Wiser words have never been spoken, and you heard that on
Born to be wild.
I think you're right.
Fire.
Never give them fire.
Never give them fire. Oh man.